Good evening. Yes, it's about 7 o'clock. I hadn't got started on this yet. I've had a busy day. I went to the nursing home and I went to the jail. We had some really good jail services, a good nursing home service. And thank the Lord for giving me the opportunity to do that. Pray for me. I want to get with Youth for Christ and see if I can go to the juvenile part of the jail. They are in charge of it, so I'm going to start talking about that tomorrow with somebody, the man that's in charge. And I would like to do that, and Sister Lee's spoken she'd like to, and Sister Annie and Sister Martha. So we could have us a really good team doing that, couldn't we? Anyhow, just pray about that if you will, that the Lord open that door if that's what he wants us to do. After I had that dream about that young man in hell, I really want to try to be a blessing to some young people. I haven't had that much of an opportunity to even try that, but I'd like to. So we're going to go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 1. Let a man so account of us as of the ministers of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. So he wanted to be known as a minister of Christ, somebody that brings Christ and gives him, shows people who he is. And he wanted to be a steward of the mysteries of God, meaning that he took care of them and imparted them and helped them to be used in and among the people. You know, a steward of somebody's household is someone who takes care of it and takes care of the business of it and makes sure that it's done right and makes sure that the person that owns it is being treated fairly and that he's doing right to the other people. I mean, a steward is somebody that watches over the business of another's property, another's riches. And this, in this case, stewards of the mysteries of God. What God could do, Paul was going to be a steward of them and show people what the mysteries of God were. And he knew exactly how to take care of doing that. He was a good steward. And moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. So a steward must be a faithful person. Let's see what this definition back here says of steward. You know, I was a steward, and that name came from the word steward. There are people who have the last name Stewart, but I was a steward, and the Stewarts that we were from Scotland. And of course, you know that King James, that was the one that caused this book to be translated, though all kinds of people have talked about how not a good man he was or whatever, but God really used him to be a blessing to the world. So even if they want to say that he wasn't this or he wasn't that, he was somebody that made a difference in this world by what he caused to happen. So he was a good steward, wasn't he? He was a good steward, even though he was steward. They say what I believe happened was there was a king way back in Scotland, and I don't remember who all it was, something about Robert the Bruce, those people. Anyhow, when they ran out of people in their family to be kings, this man who was one of their stewards became the king. And that's when his name became Stuart. And so steward and steward are very kin. Stewardship and kin. And here it's talking about stewardship, but it doesn't give you a real definition. But a steward is a man that takes care of other men's property and makes sure that everything about that property is done the way it ought to be. And so he said, moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. It's required. A steward must be faithful. In fact, back in where we have already studied, let's see where it was, in Luke, when we were studying in Luke, remember? It was talking about a steward, that he was an unjust. Let me find that spot where it talked about that steward. He said, here it is in chapter 16. It said, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. So he hadn't taken care of them. He wasn't a faithful steward. It is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. But with me it is a very small thing that I should be judged of you, or of man's judgment. Yea, I judge not mine own self. For I know nothing by myself, yet am I not hereby justified. But he that judgeth me is the Lord. So he was working for the Lord without judging himself or any other man judging him. He was letting God direct his steps and letting God show him which way to go and what to do. He was being judged of the Lord. Therefore judge nothing before the time until the Lord come, who both will bring to light the hidden things of darkness, and will make manifest the counsels of the hearts, and then shall every man have praise of God. Now, isn't that very encouraging? To me it is very encouraging. He said, judge nothing before the time. We judge ourselves a lot of times, and we feel like, oh, we're not doing anything. Nothing we do makes any difference, and all that kind of self-judgment that sometimes is not beneficial to us, but we do it. We want to make sure, that we don't think too highly of ourselves, to one thing. But another thing is, it just seems like others can do and will do and are doing more than we could do, and being more successful at it. So sometimes we don't give ourselves any kind of credit for doing work for God that's of value. But he said, judge nothing before the time until the Lord come. Jesus is coming, who both will bring to light the hidden things of darkness. So there are hidden things that you can't know about. You really can't know what all's fighting you, can you? You don't really. You can't really know that. You can't really know how successful you are against what's fighting you. And he said, bring to light the hidden things of darkness, and will make manifest the counsels of the hearts. Your heart, what's it deciding on? What is it thinking on? Is it scared, or is it brave, or is it, you don't even know all your own heart, do you? And then shall every man have praise of God. God will look at us and see what we've been fighting against and how we've been doing. And he said every man's going to have praise of God. We're not going to come up short. Not if we're his, and not if we're doing everything we know to do to serve him like he wants to. And even if we're not doing everything we know to do, if we're trying to be a blessing wherever we are. And these things, brethren, I have in a figure transferred to myself and to Apollos for your sakes, that you might learn in us not to think of men above that which is written, that no one of you be puffed up for one against another. So Paul didn't want them to try to make him big and Apollos little, Apollos big and him little. Didn't want any of that. He wanted them to realize that he is only judged by God. Apollos might do more than he did, or less than he did, or whatever it was, but they weren't in competition with each other. And I feel like that's a lot of times what the devil sets us Christians to doing, is being in competition with each other. And no, sir. That is not what we need to do. We don't need to do that. Verse 7 says, "For who maketh thee to differ from another? And what hast thou that thou didst not receive?" Now, if thou didst receive it, why dost thou glory as if thou hadst not received it? Oh, I'm so much better than everybody else. Where'd you get that betterness? Oh, it was given to me. Yes, you received it. You received it from God. That's why you're different from another, because you received these things he gave you, and they received these things he gave them. And again, we are not in competition. We are trying to do his will and being judged by him. Now you're full. Now you're rich. Ye have reigned as kings without us. And I would to God you did reign, that we also might reign with you. I want to tell you something. Paul had a way of peeking into their reality, of understanding where they were coming from. And he was trying to bring them back down to being humble before God rather than being competitive with each other. Now ye are full, now you're rich, ye have reigned as kings without us. And I would to God you did reign, that we also might reign with you. He knew they were reigning as kings, but they weren't really what they needed to be. Verse 10 said, "We are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Christ. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised." Who's he talking about? He's talking about him and Apollos and all the people that were trying to help them to be the kind of church they needed to be. "Even unto this present hour, we both hunger and thirst, and are naked, and are buffeted, and have no certain dwelling place, and labor, working with our own hands. Being reviled, we bless. Being persecuted, we suffer it. Being defamed, we entreat. We are made as the filth of the world, and are the offscouring of all things unto this day." So, Paul, what he had to do, he had to dig this church out of Corinth. He did. And Apollos had to help him to get them set up and established in the Word. And they didn't even have a copy of the Word that I know of. So Paul had really labored among them. And so had Apollos, from what I can tell. And so he said, "I think that God has set forth us the apostles last, as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men." Did I skip reading that verse? It seems like I did. "For I think that God has set forth us the apostles last." The apostles were the ones that Jesus sent out, and Paul was one of them, although he was called later than the other disciples were. But he said, "I think that God has set forth us the apostles last, as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men. We are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise." So he was trying to say, y'all can reign as kings, but look where you came from. Look who you got saved under. Look what we did to try to help you. We are fools for Christ's sake, but ye are wise in Christ. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. What was he getting at? What was he getting at? "Even unto this present hour both hunger and thirst, and are naked, and are buffeted, and have no certain dwelling place. And labor, working with our own hands. Being reviled, we bless. Being persecuted, we suffer it. Being defamed, we entreat. We are made as the filth of the world, and are the offscouring of all things unto this day. I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons, I warn you. Now we're learning why Paul is writing all of this, trying to say they are set up so high in their church, but these men that are sent out, they have to endure all kinds of persecutions, and they had to endure them to bring the gospel to them. Being defamed, we entreat. You know, you're nobody, you're nothing. But please let me at least tell you about Christ, about Jesus. See, they're treated like they're nothing, but they still, instead of being angry, they ask that they might be able to impart them the knowledge of Christ. We are made as the filth of the world and are the offscouring of all things unto this day. We're what's washed off, scratched off like something that shouldn't be there. I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons, I warn you. For though you have 10,000 instructors in Christ, yes, yet have you not many fathers. For in Christ Jesus I have begotten you through the gospel. I am your Father. Wonderful, huh? Let's stop right there. This is kind of a herky-jerky mess, one lesson sharing with you. Especially when I miss a verse to read it. I'm sorry. But I can't do it again tonight. I'm tired, I'll tell you that. But forgive me. And I'll do better tomorrow, I hope. I hope. And I love you. I'm glad that we had this opportunity to share together. Tomorrow, maybe I'll do some more on that. I don't know. Let's see what's going on with the rest of the chapter. Not very much. So we'll work on this 4th chapter. If you have any comments about why Paul was talking like this to them, I'd like to hear them. Okay? God bless you.